So you're welcome again to our weekly Sligo paper review show here with myself, Brendan Tierney, on the Sligo Show. And each week we bring a different guest, sometimes from the world of music, politics, etc. This week we have Mayor Arthur Gibbons. You're very welcome to our show.
Thank you, Brendan, and I'd like to say hello to all of your listeners out there.
Oh, thanks very much. Well, we've on the video and the listeners, so you'll be a YouTube sensation before the week's out now, Arthur.
Of course I will. I'm no stranger at the YouTube, so I'm all right with that.
Look, we're going to dive straight in. As everyone knows now, watching, we have a look through the Sligo Champion and the Sligo Weekender, and we just dip into a few stories. We don't get into too much of the controversy, but one thing I do want to ask a little bit about is there's a big piece here at the front of the Champion. Tenants are in shock at the hike in rents. Now, again, I'm not going to get into a long conversation about it, but
right.
Is the obvious easy solution just build houses, or can councils, government do a little bit more?
Government can do more under the housing bill that the government has brought in, because what the government has actually done, it's very little change that's in it. It's still in the favour of the big developers out there and the vulture funds.
Okay.
They come in to buy up this property, and realistically they're holding the ordinary 5-8 who can least afford it. They're holding them to ransom. It's reality to it. Anybody on a social welfare payment, or any of the low earners, or even anybody with a half reasonable job, and having the best part of their money on rent, and now to be faced with this 75% increase, and they have no way out of it, and the government is absolutely doing nothing to it.
And is it caps? Can they just put caps? Because you can't build houses in the next 3 weeks, but in the next 3 or 4 months, can we? Is that an obvious thing? I'm not in the world of politics, but is that something?
No, I tell you exactly what we have in Sligo, and I think it's needed throughout the whole country, is we have a pressure zone, and the pressure zone, the rent pressure zone, the rent pressure zone means that rents can only be increased by 4% every 2 years. Now we have that in Sligo, and some landlords have actually tried acting on the ignorance of tenants, because they wouldn't be aware of this, and tried to increase their rents. Now those tenants that's living, we'd say, within the
pressure
zone, in the pressure zone, those tenants are safe enough in this. It's the other tenants outside of that, those living in the likes of the Strand, Hills, Ballasadair, Colooney and things like that, they're the ones that's going to be in trouble, and they're the ones under the biggest threat. Government needs to step in. The government needs to take control of this and say, look, no way, we'll cap it, and that's exactly what should be done. But they're not doing that. They've turned this down a few times in the Dáil. They've turned around and says, we'll frighten off the likes of people investing in property to use for rented accommodation. But that's all right in saying that. If people are coming in just to make a killing off the least or the most vulnerable in our society, the government can't just stand back. It shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. Reality to it. But it all boils down to one thing, and it goes down to the 3 Ps. The government should be looking at public land, public housing and public finance. That's exactly what should be looked at. That would solve the whole problem. When I grew up here in Sligo, most beautiful place as far as I'm concerned in Ireland, I'm sure anybody here would agree with me. Over in the 80s itself, 70s and the 80s, over 80% of the houses within Sligo town were local authority housing.
80%?
80% of the houses in Sligo town was local authority housing. That has changed over the last 40 years.
Would you have complimented Fianna Fáil for doing that back in the day? Or?
Well, it's not that I compliment anybody, but what I will say, the country was on its knees. And right from the 30s, 40s, 50s, right through up until that, social housing was always provided for those that need it. That hasn't happened in the last number of years.
There's definitely a swing.
And the swing has gone away. Now, don't take me wrong in relation to, but we have this thing as a nation, and I think it's because it goes back to the old time of the landlords. We have this need to own our own property. And realistically, if we work hard all our lives and whatever, we're entitled to have it. But that day is gone. That day is gone.
Yeah, well, it's a big thing in Germany. People rent. So maybe look at it. I said, I'm just intrigued that is it just putting a cap on it somewhere? But sure, hopefully things will start to turn that way. But in a more positive housing news, there's a great feature here in the Champion about a big retrofit scheme that was done in the Cranmore area. And it was great to read some of the stories of the locals down there, and they've got their new energy efficient houses, and even though the old fire is gone, they're saying how sound is better, the quieter or warmer, everything so. That's a good story in the Champion again, and that's all council led as well, I presume.
It's a fantastic project that's going on. Again, it is something that's going on. It'll be all local authority housing will be getting this. It's the way forward, and it comes under green policy and whatever else for the environment and whatever. I think myself that it is the way forward. Fossil fuels is going to be a thing in the past.
Inevitably, whether we like it or not.
But at least this is something that's shown a progressive way or forward. The only thing that I do find in relation to it, this could be tackled on a bigger scale, but we don't have the skilled labour to do it.
Yeah, there's a big shortage.
And the skilled labour has failed because the day of apprenticeships things like that have gone. They fell by the wayside. Even our local authorities, because the fact that we don't have a labour force anymore, skilled people, carpenters, electricians, block layers, whatever else, they were always a great provider of apprenticeships for young people.
Yeah.
The fact that we put everything out to private tender now, that doesn't happen anymore. And
so you're saying the apprenticeships could have come in and worked for
the apprenticeships should be brought back in, and they should be brought back into the likes of the local authorities. Local authorities should go back to hiring professional people, so they're able to train the likes of
have their own team, essentially, like
their own team, like you used to. When I was back in 1980 in Sligo, I think it was 120 men worked in the yard here just for Sligo Borough.
Yeah.
And you know the whole layout of Sligo Borough is only 1 mile in diameter.
Yeah.
And there's borough stones even, they worked in between that. But 120 men. Those men were block layers, carpenters, electricians, plumbers. And every one of those had an apprentice with them, and sometimes 2 apprentices with them. And that was vital, we'd say, to the workforce at the time, because it left the likes of those people, when they came on, they were skilled. If they didn't stay within their employer, they went on and maybe opened up their own business, and they hired other people.
The window
that was it. So it had a good knock-on effect. Yeah. Whereas a number of years ago, they came along with the idea and they says, let's privatise this. Privatisation means one thing and one thing only. It means profit. And if you were to get somebody in, we'd say, to do a job for you, or to do, we'd say, the retrofitting of them houses, and we'd say you were a private company, you would look at it in such a way, well, I don't want apprenticeships. If I want excellence,
now, to be honest, I'm kind of conscious of going in too political and all this as well. As I said, I just think it's a great story, retrofitting.
Oh, it's a brilliant, it's fantastic. I think we all know,
and you know
something, well done to everybody involved.
Well
done
great.
to Sligo County Council, the Cranmore regeneration, to the people in Cranmore who got themselves involved in this. I think myself that the whole Cranmore saga over the number of years has been a success story. And long may it live.
Long may it live, exactly. So moving on to a bit of entertainment here, the Celtic Tenors, which features a Sligo man, James Nelson. They're having a big gig after a few years, and that's coming up in the Hawks. Well, so are you a singer yourself, or any opera?
No, but I like that. I like nearly all types of music. I won't say which types of music I don't.
You were talking about some like 80s.
80s,
new, what do you call it?
Euromantics.
And
that was the era I grew up in. And actually, it was funny enough of a story. I remember I was in Foss at the time doing an introduction into industry, and I actually took the advantage at that time of getting my hair done like Howard Jones, you know.
All right. You didn't keep it that
black
way,
around the side. I had hair that time, no more than yourself, Brendan, you know. And today is kind of a satellite, just to keep me kind of, or not a satellite, a solar panel, just to keep me going.
Well, there
life,
you go, keeps the heat down.
Mm.
Another thing here, and again, look, I mean, I just love the headline. I've been thinking should be brought in a long time ago, but there is some reform. Now, some people say it's not as dramatic as the headlines may say, but there's some proposed reform for the Leaving Cert programme. Now, whether we get into the details or not, I think the whole thing needs to be just structured to A, take the pressure off people, B, again, go back to apprenticeships, open up the more practical side of skills and tasks, and creative side and arts and everything. So
the only thing I'd say about the Leaving Cert and any professional person that we say working with children or anything else, it's not the beginning and end all of everything.
It's a huge
There's
thing.
Too much pressure put on children in relation in a lot of cases, and in more, I suppose 90% of it is youngsters putting that pressure on themselves. This shouldn't. Reality to what everybody should go by their capability. It's not everybody who is going to work out there as to be an accountant or whatever else. We need skilled people as well.
But you need all kinds. I mean, like you could be a singer, a poet, an artist. Like I'm just going on the next page here. There's a lovely feature on Annie West. Like you know what I mean? I don't know what she did in Leaving Cert or didn't do, but she's just got this amazing creative talent. She just honed her skills. Like maybe she didn't need to go to college, maybe she did. I don't know, but I'm just saying there's plenty of people like that. And like there's a great feature here about Sligo Walks, which is another huge asset in Sligo, and she has painted all the maps on them. Like so again. That's the kind of person you go, make sure the door's open for the next Annie West through, and that so they don't get crushed down by all the other subjects.
A fantastic initiative, because even with somebody who comes up with their own creative ideas to create this, and especially it makes it that much easier because you're in such a place of beauty and amenities. We have to say that about Sligo. Sligo's, as you know yourself, surrounded by hills, walks. I mean to say some of the most beautifulest walks in the world, I'd say, is around Sligo. And that makes her job that much easier. But her own initiative to put that and do something with it. And as you said, nobody knows where her education came from. I knew a woman in this town, and she came from a business family, but she had very little education herself. But her husband was the main drive in the family, and he kept the family businesses all going. And the day that he died, she had to fill his shoes. And she done every bit as good a job, if not better, than her husband did. And she had very little education to begin with, and
yeah.
very little experience in that field. Her main thing, she had a big family and whatever else, and she was the drive behind that family, and they're still a very successful family today.
But again, even modern days, I think it is becoming a bit more open to go. You're not pigeonholed. That's what you do, and you do this. So I think it's great to see. And again, I don't know anything about any West background, by the way, in case
but you know what I say about a lot of people like this. A lot of people, it's if they're out there and they have a drive and ambition, you can have all the education in the world, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
If you have a drive and burning ambition to do something, you will make it.
Absolutely.
Person that goes, this is only a scenario on my end of it, somebody goes along and they can get top university degrees and everything else, they will get the best job. But that best job that they get pays a wage every week. But you get somebody with drive and ambition, and they want to create something or build something. Their job changes every day, and if they're successful, their financial end of it changes every day.
Well, I would also say I know plenty of people with no college degrees, and their creative business is worth more than some of the big obvious jobs. So from Sligo walks to Jonathan Ruan from Castleconnor. He walked all the way, I'd say it was more than walking out, to the top of Mount Everest. Like, what an achievement. I know somebody went to base camp and they said it was really difficult. So
very difficult.
Well done to him, and there's a lovely feature in them. And another piece here I love. Would you go hugging donkeys, Arthur? There's a question you didn't think you'd be asked.
I'll tell you this much, absolutely love donkeys.
You used to have donkeys, you said?
We did. We were lucky enough. My parents was caretakers in an estate here in Sligo. And the family that had them actually bought us ponies, and there was a donkey in the field. But one day we got up to the surprise that there was a foal. Oh, lovely. And nothing cuter than a donkey. Donkey is so beautiful. Yeah. And that donkey became a pet around our house. Now, they might sound daft, but we were only kids at the time. But the name of the two donkeys was George, who was a female. Fair enough. A Bowsy. Very modern thinking there. You're ahead of your time. Which was the foal. But the one aspect to it was, I always remember my mum, Lord have mercy on her, because of the gate system we had at the house, and there was stables at the back of the house. But they quickly learnt how to slide back the top pole. Oh yeah, very slick. And they'd come in through the front door into the house, into the kitchen. And my mum was terrified of horses, donkeys, or anything else. And she'd be terrified. You could hear the screaming of her. Well, they're not too good at reversing either. So no, they're not. Have to make the the way our house was designed, within the front door, and when we'd have to bring it out the back door. Okay. Well, at least you had the both the way around. But thank God, none of them ever had an accident on the kitchen floor. we would dare to think. But it's funny, they're saying like this is like they really want help at the Donkey Sanctuary. It's out in Castlebaldwin, and you can get in touch through the Sligo Volunteer Centre. And again, all the details in the paper. But like they're literally saying like they give them their favourite treats, ginger biscuits, and give them some cuddles. Like I said, it'd be great for a family and kids going out doing that. Brilliant. Donkeys are fantastic with children. I have to say it, and the kids have a great affinity with donkeys. I don't know what it is. There's a kind of go to a lot of children's stories, books and stories. Maybe like what was that program that was on there? It was do you remember Donkey was the name of the character. Shrek. Shrek. Yes. That was it. So they go to that or whatever else, because I even know with my own grandchildren, if they see a donkey, we nearly have to pull in the car at times if we can to see it, and that's the reality. It's just something different. They're very placid now. And of course, the donkeys don't have a name, there's just Donkey. You know, the same as what happened in Shrek. Well, you had George, so you went a bit more adventurous than just Donkey. Again, little bits here again. I see Dylan Moran is coming to Sligo Live in October, and I see that Tommy Tiernan is doing a double gig, so it's great to see the tickets are selling for that. Tommy Tiernan, I have to say, and I watch his show on a regular basis, I think he was absolutely fantastic. I think Tommy Tierney has done a fantastic job. He brings on ordinary people onto his show, and he gets a whole background. He actually done it here in Sligo in relation to the undertaking business. If you that's right, David McGowan, and the daughter David McGowan, and he covered David. And in fairness, David's daughter Breed, she's absolutely very talented, brilliant harpist. And she was done her bit of a gig on the show. She was actually on it twice, I think, and it was fantastic. But I think he goes right into depth and he listens. He doesn't jump in. I was at one of the recordings once. It was very fascinating because it goes on for about 3 hours. And he's a brilliant comedian. I have to say that much to him. I think that's part of his attraction. And we love him in Derry, girls. Reality to it. I think he's one of the main I'm actually going to see him next week in Derry with my father-in-law, who's from Derry. So we're going to take a tour of Derry. I've never been up there, and so to see Tommy Tiernan in his new home of Derry now will be interesting. I'd love to see him live. I'd love to see him live. Well, go to see him at Sligo Live in October. You know what? Maybe at some stage when my term as mayor is up, I might get the chance. And just another aspect, I'll be actually in Belfast in December because The Cure is up there.
Okay, we're getting
I couldn't get
the
tickets for the South here, but I got them for.
Okay,
for
The Cure would be amazing. Actually,
it'd be fantastic.
We were talking earlier about the Leaving Cert, and again, I love this gesture from the Samaritans are giving pens to students throughout the exams. Again, a lovely gesture, I suppose, just to say, look, we're here to help, and I said, hopefully, people don't
Samaritans themselves. It's on. How would you put it? It's unimaginable the services that they put in. Yeah. It's fantastic.
I think unless you're involved inside of it, it's hard to appreciate. Maybe.
That. And the one thing about it, if you're ever talking to anybody or know anybody that has been involved in it, the workload that they have and the pressure, and they're ordinary 5/8, and they get nothing for it. It's all their own time, and they're 24 hours on call.
I know, it's amazing.
And I think society owes a fantastic debt to the Samaritans and other organisations that operate similar way, the likes of Piano House and the different organisations out there. But we really owe massive.
No, look, I think it's an Irish thing anyways, regardless. We're just great at helping and donating, you know. Yeah. And I see it just, again, I'm not going to go in deep in the article, but I see there's 86 Ukrainian children enrolled in schools in Sligo, which is great, and they're getting a good Sligo welcome, no doubt.
Fantastic. I think myself it's a humanitarian thing. We can't question the whole fact. It was a great thing that Ireland was able to put out their hands and bring these families across and whatever else.
So we'll have to all go learning a few phrases when we see these kids.
I'd have a couple of concerns, but they don't come anywhere near the need that it was to take them out of that situation.
Of course. I don't think anyone argues with that.
I don't think anybody out there would disagree with me. Like reality to it, you can imagine what them children have seen. Some of the children 3-4 years of age.
No kids,
and that will stay with them for life.
Yeah, well hopefully when they're in Sligo now, we might just be able to help them get through that a little bit more.
It's not that we might be able to help them. We will help them.
Well, as you said, the Sligo walks and the lovely scenery around here, so I think that hopefully give them a little bit of a reprieve.
I think myself is a great thing. I feel so proud of being Irish that we were able to do that.
Yeah, it's a lovely gesture. Sure. Again, another feature article here. This is again in the Champion. It's Celine Daly, who is a dermatology nurse at Sligo University. She's talking about psoriasis. Big issue for some people. So if you're getting the Champion, there's a great article in that, and there's a new podcast out. I think it's called Let's Talk Psoriasis. So again, there's things like that. And you were telling me of a little herbal remedy or a natural remedy. You were saying
it's a natural remedy. It's actually a resource that we have plentiful in this country, and even the supermarkets and everything else sells it. And it was back in the 90s when there was a TV show that was done in relation to it. A lot of people suffering with psoriasis got some comfort from drinking willow water. And willow water is sold in the supermarkets. It's because there's a willow tree growing in the area where the well is, and whatever properties it holds gets into the water. But it's supposed to alleviate. Now, a friend of mine, one of my best friends, his wife had psoriasis, and she found, even out from the different medications that she was on and everything else, the only relief that she got when it really flared up was the willow water. In some cases, it cleared it all together. I'm not saying that it done away with it for life, but it cleared up the bad flare.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if you're suffering from it, you'll try anything.
And for something that's only the price of a bottle of water, willow water. I think it's worth a try, and it's not kind of one of these kind of that you're risking life, or that it's off the wall, or that you're undermining doctors or practices. Or
it might help alongside the medical care.
I think we thought that people. It's water. It's good for you.
Can't do any harm anyways.
Can't do any harm.
I just seen the business news here. There's new e-bikes. Bolt company is coming. I think they're doing a trial run here in Sligo coming soon.
Yep.
So I just love that, because every time you see videos from other big cities all over Europe, people are on their scooter. I have an electric scooter. I think Sligo should become one of the first.
You lazy person!
I am you helping the environment.
I have a pedal cycle. This guy with his
you can't fold that up scooter and put it away easier. Carry it into an office with you.
No,
I could bring the e-scooter here and just leave it under the desk.
No, you know what I actually do with mine, because my office is in the town hall, right? It's the mayor's parlour at the moment.
I see. We don't all have a mayor's parlour to bring a bike in.
No. I'll come into town in my car, and I'll have the bike on the back of the car.
Yeah.
So then when I'm running around, we'd say the likes of council officer, the different estates, I'll get on the bike
way quicker,
and I'll cycle, and it's way quicker.
Well, when you're on your bike, I'm on the scooter doing the same thing.
The only reason that I bring the car in the first place is to bring in the files that I need and bring them home again. So but it's only to get in there. Yeah. But the one aspect, the e-bikes, we had already bikes in Sligo, electric bikes.
All right,
and we had them there. You could hire them out, and it was done by the phone. And it was Mr. Ganley, down below in North Sligo, and Charlotte at the time had that around, and there was a number of the bikes, and everywhere you went, and it was great because they were always in use, and you'd see people having them as far as Ross's Point and whatever in them. But COVID, of course, knocked that on the head.
But sure, look at so many things. But I suppose it's
so
back now. It'll be very
ahead.
interesting to see. And I think the real smart app, all you prepay it. So it looks like it's a really easy service. I'll see where the Glasshouse where we're filming from today. Their chef, Alan Fitzmaurice, he's heading off to a global contest in Abu Dhabi. So the best to look to world finalists in the World Congress of the World Association of Chef Societies in Abu Dhabi. So that's coming up soon. So there you go. Very good. Fingers crossed. And I see the Sligo Park. Was named in TripAdvisor. I shouldn't be saying that hotel too loud. No, what is it? Named in the TripAdvisor's top 25 hotels around Ireland. So there's Sligo to the fore as always.
The only difference with Sligo Park, we'd say, and the Glasshouse. I pass the Glasshouse every day, so it's very handy to drop in for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and it's a lovely. I love here, and you can sit out. We're looking outside. There was someday in the summer we might do the slow show outside.
I'd have to go way out of my way to go to Sligo Park.
Well, again, that's what all the bits of the champion, and they have a big feature as well with the shop local. They're giving away €2,000 in that. Let me see now. I see a feature here about there's a big problem with their. I think this is a simple problem. Some parts of Sligo's Maherboy aren't really being serviced with a bus route. And again, I see numerous councillors talking about this.
This is something that really infuriates me, and I'll tell you.
Well, now we won't get infuriated now.
No, I am infuriated over it, and I'll tell you why. Because coming from that area of the town, which I was born in Tracy Avenue, grew up in Tracy Avenue, and still have a brother living in Tracy Avenue, but there was always a bus service on that route. That bus service was taken away a number of years ago. At that time, it was mostly young families that was in that area. Today, now we have a huge elderly population that's in it who depends on that bus, and that route has been taken away over the last number of years, and no excuse for it. And like, it's all right that they'll turn around and they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's because we don't have the money to put that route there." My idea of the whole lot, they shouldn't be worried about money. The people that they're going to be servicing, the elderly people, help to build this country where it is. They pay their taxes. There are people before they pay their taxes and whatever else, and they are entitled to it. If it has to be subsidised more by the government, subsidise it. Yeah. But they need that service. You can't just take a whole section of society out there in the West Ward and say, "No, you're not getting."
No, it's true. And a number of councillors from different areas, like even I see Sinead Maguire, Rosalie O'Grady, Tom McSharry, everyone seem to be in favour of going like, look, just change the route for a while until you get the money for the next bus. So it's like, just fix it. Like,
if they have a problem changing the route, put another bus on. It's as simple as that. Yeah. They can turn around and they can say, the money isn't there, they're actually a public service. But they're not providing a service for the public.
Good enough, yeah.
That's the reality.
Good old Ireland, always the same. And again, my events roundup here, I love this bit in the weekend. Are one page, everything there, and I'm gonna quiz through them. And they mention regular gigs and they mention new gigs. The Swing Jazz and Connolly's on a Friday afternoon. You ever pop into that?
No.
5:00 on a Friday, or is it 5?
But
5:30.
But do you know something, Brendan?
Jam.
Do you know something? And I have to say this, right? It's pub life isn't the same for me since before COVID. I found after it,
I think a lot of people
I just lost the habit.
Yeah.
I just lost the habit. And
you can get it back again, Arthur. We'll bring you out Friday.
Come here and I'll tell you this much. When I get out there at some stage, I didn't have a drink in the last 4 months, which is just something I went off for January and it just continued. But you know something, my biggest problem is if I do go out, we'd say next weekend, I'll try and fit 4 months into one night.
Well, there you go. Sure, why not? So you get back all the money to the town there, you know. And this Friday, Pink Friday, which is the local LGBT Society IT Sligo's LGBT Society, are hosting an event in the Swagman. So that's 8 to 11 on Friday night. See, this is the thing. You buy the local papers, you find out, or you'll be reminded of some of the stuff you might have heard about. There's loads of biodiversity things. There's a bio hub at Friday, tomorrow. Brian, you better get the show edited out tonight now. This will be no good to us. For Biodiversity Week, there's an event in Hazelwood tomorrow at 12:30. There's a Dawn Chorus Cycle in Durley Park tomorrow, 6:15. Now that'll be a lovely event if the weather stays nice for us.
Well, you know I like cycling, but I'm not up at 6:15.
Now come on, Arthur, come on, get that bike out. Don't drive in tomorrow now, get the bike in. There's hikers to bikers, so you go for a big bike trail from where does it go? From Grange to Benbulben. All the details again are in the paper. So there's a lot of those kind of things. A nature walk out in Ballysadare, that's on Saturday. Table quiz in Dromore West, that's on. This is the hard part. To always find the dates. I don't know when it's on. It doesn't actually say. It's on at 6:00. So if you go, it's on this Saturday. God, there you go.
It doesn't actually say.
Odd Socks. Now there you go. Yeah, I was like, it's like, where is it? Odd Socks. Local band, brilliant, unbelievable band. I haven't seen them play in a couple of years in Sligo. Again, COVID. So they're in Anderson's on this Saturday. So this Saturday night, Odd Socks are back, and they're an amazing band, and they haven't played in Sligo as far as I'm aware for a couple of years. We already mentioned the Celtic Tenors. They're on Sunday. There's a beach clean in Strand Hill on Sunday as well. Again, if you wanted more details, get your paper. The Music Generation, which is a brilliant organisation in town, they're having a big gala event on Monday, and that is in the Hawksville at 6:30. And there's loads of other gigs coming up in the Radisson of the Whiston Donkeys and Johnny Brady. And then we mentioned last week Benny Murren and the lads have their heavy metal festival Whiplash coming up soon.
Do you know the Whiplash concert? I was actually involved in the very first one of them in Sligo. And
what year?
That's back in, I think it was 2002, 2001, 2002. Yeah. And those that was involved, they were looking for finance to get it off the ground. And that time, concerts they were still growing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I seen the opening there for it, and I actually secured money for them through the council.
Great. So when I'm looking for money after the comedy festival in November, I'll come to you.
I remember it was above on the Mall the first year, and the second year then it was above in was the Bon Share, what it was called. I forget what it was called, but it was where the Bon Share was. People know beside Harry's Bar there, and it was in there in the second year, and I kind of lost touch with it then after that.
Well, I mean, if you give it its first initial kick, that's not too bad.
Stop coming to me for money. So that was
I'll be coming to you, so if you got that money. Can I just say, by the way, when you next time you go to a council meeting, will you just say one thing and everyone, and I mean, I'm a person involved, I do the comedy festival, the jazz festival, Cordial festival, Whiplash. Will you just make it easier for people to go, I'm doing an event, I don't want to fill out a 40-page form, please. I don't need to. I'll prove to you, I'll put it on. So will you just bring that to your next council meeting? Because it's the greatest headache ever.
You know, everything has gone so accurate today that the I's has to be dotted and the T's has to be crossed.
I think it's time to flip it back.
And the box has to be ticked, and that's exactly what
it's a pain.
And some of them forms, they're a nightmare.
I know, but it just puts you off, and then events don't happen. People just go, I haven't the time. A lot of people do it voluntary.
But they're the times we live in.
Yeah, and I see the Clarion Road, which is obviously a kind of a peculiar name for a road because it was named after the hotel.
That's right.
But there's a proposal to rename it the Jack B. Yates. So, and it was yourself proposed as far as I'm aware from the article. Is that right? And when's that going to happen? Are you trying to get them to hurry up a bit?
It's been over. It was first proposed in 2017, and it wasn't by me. And I hadn't realised that at the time.
Speaking about
but
it.
I went away and I actually put it up as a motion. I wasn't aware that I had.
Yeah.
But nothing was done about it.
Okay.
So it's the equivalent of working on my motion. The one thing, and I would say it in relation to it, the reason that it was named the Clarion Road, because the hotel had gone in there. The hotel went in, and I think buying the property, building the hotel and everything else at that time cost £45 million.
Wow.
So that was a great employer to Sligo. So we looked at the road outside of this, and it was on what was known as Asylum Road.
Oh, right.
Because
okay. We don't want to keep that name, maybe, yes.
Mental health services there within the area. And it was so kind of Victorian, out of date. And somebody just came up and says, let's get rid of that name. It's an embarrassment.
What's the next
one?
Clarion.
Quickly. So it was Clarion. Now, Clarion isn't there anymore. It's the Clayton now.
Yeah, so I wonder, what do you call the apartments now?
I seen the opportunity for it, because in fairness, there's nowhere in Sligo called after Jack B. Yates.
Maybe the college campus, the apartments, maybe they could call them the Jack B. Yates campus as well. So
I can't see why not, because at the end of the day, there's a number of places in Sligo called after William Butler Yeats' brother.
Absolutely.
Both of them were very famous, and that's
so
where I'd be. I think myself that at the end of the day, they were both gifted people, and for their works they should get recognition.
Remember, and it's a nicer name than naming it after a hotel.
But it's a name that can last forever.
Yes, that's
you
the key
don't
thing.
need to change it, and that's the other aspect to it.
Again, flicking through the weekend, there's a load of pictures there from the Sligo Rugby Awards, and I'd say that was some night, because there is so many underage teams, senior teams winning, the ladies teams doing really well, so loads of great photos there. All those people having a great night for themselves. Great not a new business, but Neptune Financial. Great to see them taking over Feely's Corner up there, just on Bridge Street up towards the Mall. So
that was always a landmark in Sligo, because that was always Feely's shop.
Yeah, Feely's Corner.
That was the whole lot.
They like the Clarion Road.
You had Feely's shop one side and you had Feely's bar the other side.
That's
there were no relations.
Yeah.
But the two corner businesses. But Feely's would have been as long as I can remember. And of course, because there was a lot being in around my era, whatever, we'd have gone to school with them, so everybody knew each other. But it was always one of them shops that you always could get something in late in the evening when the other shops closed.
Yeah, it was a few months later, and I came to Sligo in 99, and that was you would remember that, like.
I mean to say, they served Sligo very well.
From everything, from the funeral home to the bus and taxi.
But it's not just that they serve Sligo, they are Sligo.
Yeah,
because there we are even talking about that shop still at the moment, and that family, and that's the reality.
Colm O'Flaherty and Helena Boland, they've been operating on High Street for a long time, so they've moved over the corner, and like even that corner between Lily's and there, it's a real vibrant little corner now. It looks great and refreshing. fresh.
You see,
So
you have
it's great to see.
you have the bank across the corner, across the road from it as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the amount of the volume of
People
people
going around.
travelling, their reality,
Yeah.
especially foot traffic, and it's reality it's ideal. It's
great
an ideal
corner.
spot, and it's great to see that corner that something is in it.
Oh God, yeah, it's not.
We got that
amount
used,
of traffic seeing
we
that,
always,
and it's
we always
empty.
got used to that corner, that there was always something there.
Yeah.
I remember when that was a
The
vibrant.
Forest used to be just there as well.
The
Remember
Forest
that?
was, but I remember then was the Westward Centre. I remember Gilbride's garage was in there, and there was a number of bars across that street, and there was Rooney's on the other side, wee sweet shop and things like that. Now, I have to say it wouldn't happen today. I used to go into that wee shop, which was Rooney's, and I don't believe there's any of that family still alive into this day, or offspring or anything else, so I can talk freely about it. We used to be going to the Tech, and it was 2p to get the bus out as far as the Tech.
2p. Do you know that, kids? Anyone watching, you'll have to Google it.
2p, this 2p anyway. We used to walk from Tracy Avenue to the Tech so that we could go to Tommy Rooney's and buy a cigarette and a red match.
A cigarette,
And
like
that-
a real cigarette.
A real cigarette.
Yes.
And a
the
match.
Unbelievables did a good sketch of
And that
this
was
before,
it.
actually.
But it was fact, and that was it. And how would I put it? It was so daft nearly. If you were going out any school whatsoever,
Yeah.
it wasn't unusual to see some youngster coming along hiding a cigarette or then passing it around 10 or 20 people. But that's what we used to do. And that was
If you
it.
don't understand what inflation is
No.
like, it used to be 2p for a cigarette. That's what you just take from this show
And
today.
thank God, not promoting cigarettes or anything else. My own personal
We're going
greatest
to cut this piece
achievement-
out and share it on its own now.
My own personal greatest achievement for myself. I gave up cigarettes 11 years ago. On the 11th of April this year was 11 years,
Yeah.
and I was smoking since I was 9. And I'm 62
You
today,
were committed.
so that'll give you an idea.
Well, when they were 2p, why
And
wouldn't
you
you?
know, and you know
You'd been
something.
saving money smoking back then.
But I'll tell you this much, seriously, in relation to
Yeah.
there was more, I think, at that time done to put youngsters off cigarettes than there is today. I remember there used to be a tour used to be done at the schools, and they used to bring a fresh lung in a specimen jar, and they used to bring a smoker's lung
Right,
in it.
okay.
And they used to show it to us in the school. And that used to put an awful lot of youngsters off.
I would well believe.
Today, they'd be probably done for child abuse because there were the horrors of showing somebody human organs or something else. Children.
Oh,
I remember
God
in
knows,
school.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
it didn't put me off, though, as I said.
Yeah, you were tougher than that. You didn't care.
I was tough, but at the end of the day, let me tell you this much: I think it's a horrible habit, and I think there's a habit that's every bit as bad, and youngsters don't need to do it, and they think that they look so cool with it. It's going around with these vapes. They're only children. There's no way they're addicted to cigarettes or anything else, but they think it looks so cool to these vapes, and these vapes that they're on are addictive. That is the
Well,
reality.
that's their design, yeah.
And that's
so
the
there's
design
tobacco
that just says
companies.
something. But
Well,
I think myself that
if kids want to do something different summer, apart from smoking, they can do loads of summer camps that are on in Sligo.
Something
we mentioned
healthy.
this. We mentioned
Something healthy.
We mentioned this last week as the Robo thing, and there's a Kids Connect one, but there's another new one here. A baking summer camp in July and August in the Mercy. Now, I just loved, my young lad loves his baking, he's a good baker, but like, that's the kind of summer camps I love to see. A bit of diversity in it. So if
Yeah.
you're not into your sports, it's like there's something
No,
for everyone.
I
So
did-
it's
I
in the
would've-
weekend of their page 21.
I
so.
love baking myself.
Well,
as
you're
ti-
coming next week, so will you bring some stuff with
Well,
you?
I'd have absolutely no problem. Like, I used to bake the Christmas cakes, puddings, and everything else at home.
All right,
And yet I worked in a bakery, but I only take a job in the packing end of it because I always found it very therapeutic. I wouldn't like it as a job, but I always
Yeah,
found
yeah.
it very therapeutic. And I love cooking.
Yeah.
And that's the other aspect. And yeah, I love eating my own products as well. So like,
So next
that's
time
that
we're going
aspect
to
of it.
Arthur's house. We're going to have
No, that's
dinner
it.
and bakes and
And
all that.
I tell you this much.
What's your speciality now?
I'll tell you what my wife's favourite of everything that I know, she doesn't like fruit, so therefore fruitcakes or scones, fruit scones wouldn't come into it. She loves a Victoria sponge.
Oh,
and
pepper
I
on.
do a nice Victoria
This
sponge.
is what I love. Gino last week finding out he was an actor at one stage, and now yourself. You want to be on Sligo's Bake Off sometime.
Well, I've done a lot of acting in school, I can tell you
All
that
right.
much, yeah.
Not acting Mike now, actually acting.
And there's actually there's a guy that was involved with the creation of EastEnders and Fair City.
Right.
And he's involved in a number of Australian programs as well. It was Declan Eames. I was in school with Declan. He was in
Sligo
some
man.
of the plays with me, yeah.
Oh, there you go. We might get him
that
on. Is
was
he
it.
still in Sligo? No.
No, Declan's living in Australia this years,
Ah.
but I haven't seen Declan since we were teenagers. But one
He went on to that world.
I wasn't surprised when he went on and took up the type of work that he's in. Actually, the last show that I heard he was involved in Australia was kind of a detective thing. It was Blue Healers was the name of it, and that was it. But I do try and follow him sometimes on Facebook, but you can only
See where
get
he's
so
getting
much
at.
on Facebook.
I know.
you know.
So again, another piece here is a local ATU student. Have to get used to not saying IT Sligo. Avia let me get this name right now, Niwiragon, hope I get that right, if you're watching. She's going to the World Chess Olympiad. So again, that's getting more popular. There was a chess weekend in Sligo recently, and there was a huge crowd at it. I've seen it here.
But again, there's chess, and it's making a comeback.
Yeah.
I remember back in the 70s and the 80s, chess was a big thing, and I remember the Russians was the main players that they used to have. And
Kasparov, was he a famous chess player?
I forget what his name was, but they were absolutely fantastic, and it'd just be great to watch it.
God, I couldn't imagine watching chess now. I'm sorry.
No,
God,
it was intriguing. Now,
I'd rather go hugging donkeys.
The only game that I could safely say that I never played and I could never watch was cricket. Reality to it, I have to say it, because it's too long, it's too boring. But chess wasn't, because you were. If you had a wee piece of knowledge...
Well, if you knew what it was about, of course, it's different.
Well, we had chess classes in school, or in technical school at that time, and we used to have our own in-house tournaments and things like that. So, of course, that probably opened up the interest into it. Yeah. And but at that time, it was a huge big thing.
Well,
actually, there was a modern film made about...
well, there's a Netflix series as well that was made there, so I think that's maybe...
There's a Netflix one that was on.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
so again, just to skip through it, there's a What's On guide in the Champion again. Loads of gigs on, telling you about the festivals, and there's one page here, page 29 of the Weekender, sorry, my apologies. I think there's about 40 festivals in the Northwest. So again, I'm not going to delve into them, because I know we're getting tight on time and that, but again, get your paper. There's about 40 festivals in the Northwest coming up over the summer. So again, COVID has definitely started to shake off its claws on society. And let me just quickly show here just a final little piece here, little story. Sligo Sports and Recreation Association, I suppose you call them, they won a national award recently, and then they have a great piece here about their Successful Girls Active programme. So that was a brilliant thing they've been running, and it's continued to run, where they're aiming at young girls doing loads of activities. So again, well done to them, and congrats on their award. It's great to see. And as I said, we don't go into the sport, but I do know, because I keep these bits down, the under-17 hurlers have reached the All-Ireland final. That's on the bank holiday weekend in June. Sligo Rovers ladies are playing Saturday at 2 p.m. at home. It's only a fiver in, and under-18s go free, so hopefully get the young kids out and support the stars of the future. And Sligo Rovers have a home game on Monday, and I don't think Sligo GA, the men's team, as far as I'm aware, aren't out for a couple of weeks yet. They're in the Talton Cup. So Arthur, thanks for coming in and joining us. Next time we're definitely coming to your house for some Victoria Sponge.
Oh, of course, you're more than welcome. Here, come here.
You're only over the road.
You're only 100 yards away, you know.
I'll scoot over.
If I fell off my bike, I'd probably land in your garden.
There you go. Arthur, listen, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great chatting to you and finding out a few stories.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. And that's all from us here at the Glasshouse. And thanks to Carmel, manager here at the Glasshouse, and all the team for looking after us here. Lovely space. Come down here for a coffee or lunch someday whenever you're out and about. And as I said, follow us on our Instagram or various social media, Facebook, YouTube, etc., Subscribe. And we will be back next week. We'll have another guest, and we'll flick through the local papers. Make sure you go and support them. They support you, they support your events, and they support jobs.